Recording in progress and then are we live? All right. Yep, we can do the introduction and then we'll wait for.
Jeff.
Yes.
Right.
Well, actually, we could get started and then.
I'll have Jeff for the minute.
Oh, yes.
All right, so we'll read the opening statement and then see when Jeff shows up. This is the March 4th, 2026 meeting of the City of Charleston Board of Zoning Appeals Site Design. Currently present are Jeff Webb, Calvin Yuji, Deandra Sunner, yes, George Schneemuller, myself, Joel Adrian. Present from staff, Eric Schultz. These proceedings are being recorded. We ask that those who speak identify themselves for the record. We will conduct this meeting in usual fashion. First, receive information from city staff about the application and their recommendation. If the recommendation is favorable and no one objects to the application, the matter is uncontested. The board reserves the right to ask questions of staff, applicant, or others in attendance prior to rendering a decision. If, however, the city recommends against the application or there is opposition to the application, we treat the application as contested and hear from the applicant and anyone else in favor of the application. Next, we'll hear from anyone opposed, followed by a short rebuttal from the applicant. We will then close the public hearing portion of the meeting for that particular application, open discussion for the Board of Zoning Appeals members only. We will then make a decision to approve with conditions, deny or defer the application. Board of Zoning Appeals Site Design has the authority to do three things. One, hear appeals to decisions of the zoning administrator. Two, grant special exceptions, a fact-finding function of the board. And three, grant variances to the zoning ordinance if the application meets the hardship test outlined in section 54(9)24 of the ordinance. The board may deliberate and make a final decision on a matter by a majority vote of members present at the hearing and qualified to vote, provided that not less than a quorum are present and qualified to vote. For a variance to be granted, the Board of Zoning Appeals must make the following findings. A, there are extraordinary exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. B, these conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. C, because of these conditions, the application of the ordinance to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. And D, the authorization of a variance would not be of substantial detriment to the adjacent property or the public good. Character of the district cannot be harmed by the granting of the variance. All right, that's done. We'll look at the agenda and see what we can do.
So, Mr. Chairman, just before we get started, for anybody that's here or for the people on YouTube, items number 3 and 6 have been deferred. 3 is Hardwood Road. Number 6 is Grand Oaks Boulevard.
Excellent, thank you. Eric, and I can now say Jeff Webb is present at the meeting. So with that, we have Jeff, George, and Calvin that were here for the August 6th, 2025 meeting. So we can go ahead and make a motion for approval of those minutes. If there's one that someone would like to do that.
The situation there is Ruthie Ramanel unfortunately had to resign. So we're going to be in the hunt for a real estate seat member. But only 4 were present at that meeting. So we're just going to have to move forward with the 3 that were here to approve those minutes.
Correct.
Motion to approve.
All right,
Second.
motion by Calvin for approval, seconded by Jeff. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Opposed, approved, 3-0. So that takes care of August, January 7th. Joel, Jeff, Calvin, yeah, we can do that. All right, so is there a motion for December 3rd? I think we still need to wait for Paul.
That's correct. Yep.
So we will defer the December 3rd minutes again. Is there any more fun?
Nope.
Okay.
January 7th to move forward.
All right, so January 7th, there a motion for discussion on those minutes?
Move to approve.
All right.
Second.
Approval by Jeff, seconded by Deandra. All in favor?
In favor.
Opposed? None opposed. That motion is approved. And that is 4-0. Now we'll go on to new business. First application, new business is B1, and it is 8 Poplar Street. That is North Central, Council District 4, the TMS number 46312010003 is in BR1F. Request a special exception from section 54.327 to allow the removal of 1 grand tree.
So just as a reminder, board, special exception is a fact-finding function. And I will present, but if there are any specific questions relative to the tree, I did not physically get on site, but Eliana made it to the site, but the photos and arborist report, I'll explain. So here's the application for 8 Poplar Street. It's a typical size lot with home on the north side of Poplar Street, west of I-26. You can see here, here's an aerial, and the tree is on the east boundary of the lot in the rear yard. This is the survey of the existing house. There is an existing rear deck, and the tree is shown there approximately 3 to 5 feet off the property line. There's a fence there, and it is a water oak. I just blew a section of that up so you can see its relationship to existing conditions. I don't recall, maybe Eliana, I don't know if the city received the tree inspection request or not. I take care of 29403, so I don't think one ever came in, but they might have had discussions at our permit center or what have you. But obviously they retained Bartlett tree experts to evaluate the 25-inch water oak, and he states that it's in pretty good condition. Health is good. You know, there's been some pruning done, almost textbook based on the angle of the cuts and some of the previous cuts, the way they're healing over. It does make the tree a little bit lopsided, and he did note that possibly there was a break years ago in the upper crown, and I'll zero in on that photo. So here's the scenario in the backyard. You can see the pruning cuts, the upper ones above the second lateral look like they might have been a little older, and there's some decent little callus wood starting to heal over those wounds, and then maybe 2 newer cuts below. So what Cameron pointed out is if you look at the left codominant leader after whatever number of feet of grade that is, you can kind of see where there's pretty significant wood, and then it kind of stops and it narrows down to maybe what would be considered water sprouts. Right there is his circle. That might have been a tear out, breakout, and then but so that's that. There's been no other relevant case history that I could find in the system. So with the letter saying good, and it is a fact-finding function, I want to remind you, and we'll hear from the applicant, but we see no need to remove the tree at this point in time.
All right, thank you. Okay, first I'll start with, is there anybody present that's opposed to the application? All right, no one's present opposed. The applicant is present. Like you heard.
I'm here representing my client, Nicholas Fondowski. I'm his architect. He,
Could state your name.
Adrian McGill. 8 Poplar Street, and my client is seeking a special exception to remove the 25-inch water oak. He is wanting to add a roughly 300 square foot addition to the rear of the home. It's really the only place we can build due to the narrowness of the lot, and the tree will be very close to where the proposed addition needs to go. And so there would be further damage caused to the root system, with, extracting further footings. And then if we were to try to utilize a special footing, like a spot footing or helical piles, we don't think we could get a helical rig back there because of the, limit of the property line and the existing house width. So, he is seeking, removal of the tree to be able to, properly provide the addition and not have a tree be so close to the, new addition if built. And then I don't have in writing, but he, stated that he did speak with the adjacent neighbor on that side. They're not there, they don't live there, they are, landlords of tenants, but he stated that they do not have an issue with the tree removal, but I do not have that in any kind of writing.
All right. Thank you. Anybody else present want to speak in favor of the application? And I'll close this application to the public and be open to the board for discussion and questions of the app.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted that we received no written comments on this.
Okay. So go ahead, Helen.
What is he adding? What is the need for the additional space?
He wants to add a master bedroom suite and a small office space above, like a story and a half addition.
So that existing deck, is that like also the proposed footprint of this addition?
It would need to be,
Behind that,
it would need to go slightly further. I mean, ideally, we'd like to be able to meet the same, side setback as the existing home, or not exceed the side setback, building setback line, but we'd like to be able to get, close to that. Rather than to have it be, skinny and long, narrow, so that he can save as much of the rear, lawn as possible. Yeah. So it would, I mean, if we're keeping the tree and we have to, seek some kind of special exception for encroaching into the protected zone, then that may dictate where we can go with it, but, we're hoping that we can utilize that. It's such a narrow lot already, so to make a decent living space with all the amenities, stair and everything, we would like to utilize the width if possible.
existing house is 1.5 story? Or 1 story?
It's 1 story with a full gable.
You know how much the existing footprint is encroaching into the canopy?
Deck,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our tree protection zone for 25-inch tree would be 12 foot 3 inches. Yep, a radius of 12 foot 3.
We don't have the radius shown on here, but,
So if that house is currently 4 foot off that mountain pine tree, is about a foot at least inside and 1.5 feet. You know,
Yeah,
we're certain that deck is inside that tree protection zone.
Mhm.
Where that tree shaped for addition, if it's on top of that deck, doesn't impact.
If I could interject, I kind of feel a little out of the loop here. I don't think you stated that there was a future addition in your application. I didn't see it.
I think it's in.
Was it on there? What I would
Yeah,
recommend.
I would like to add 350 square foot addition to the property.
Oh, okay. Well, I would have asked for that addition to be shown. So in the spirit of being a fact-finding function, I would change my recommendation to deferral, have her come back with the real deal, have the applicant and her work on the exact square footage of this master bedroom, what have you, place it as they need. I would assume the HVAC unit would have to change. You're going to maintain some of the deck.
No, I mean, we have that, we took it as far as we felt comfortable taking it without knowing if we have to leave the tree or not. We didn't want to fully develop the design out, not knowing how much space we have to work with, but we can certainly show you the proposed design that you would like to have. Yeah.
Okay, so to be clear, the addition is going to replace the deck? Or is the deck going to stay?
And
No, the deck's going away. Yeah, it would basically be that footprint that you're seeing, but a little bit wider and probably a little bit deeper. But we're also utilizing that space where the HVAC is, so
So you've run your numbers, you'll be okay with lot occupancy and what have you for it, okay?
yeah, we've got that. We have that down here.
So, again, this is not part of ours, but your next step is, homeowners association, talk with them about the addition. North Central, are you going to need to get BAR approval for removal of anything off the rear of that house?
Yes, we've consulted with BAR. It's just the, that little sliver that was an add-on later on, and it's the materials demo purview area.
I think that, so I would say that I agree that, to me, I look at that deck size, it says it's 200 and some square feet, close to the number that you were saying for this addition. And there probably would be a way to keep the tree at that. So maybe it would be best to defer. And have you bring in the plans to show us, or look and see if there's a way to design it where you don't have to come back to remove that tree, and maybe it does stretch a little deeper on the lot versus wider on the lot. And you can still achieve that.
I think with the 12-foot setback, or the 12-foot radius, that would only leave us about an 8-foot sliver. So I don't feel like, I think, we thought that it wouldn't be a buildable addition. So we don't want to proceed with a design if we're just not gonna be able to do it because of the tree. So, if we, I don't know which way we should go with it. Should we design it based on the 12-foot radius and show that, I don't think we can do an 8-foot wide.
I think just having the proposed
Okay.
plan is more helpful for us to
Okay.
understand.
Instead of a special exception of reduction in the TPZ, would that be a
Right.
or
That could
variant?
be a possibility, Again, you can see the west side setback's 9.
Mhm.
So if you were to kind of visualize that over at the tree and then add 3 feet, that does come quite a bit into the interior of the lot.
Yeah, I mean, we studied that, and we were like, we can't do a project for him if that's the case. So we either would have to encroach into the setback, but then we'd be concerned that we're gonna really affect the roots at that point. We can't do helical piles. We affect into getting a rig back there, and there's just not enough space. So,
Y'all are doing a shallow footer.
yeah, I mean, or spot footers, but even spot footers, generally saying would, probably damage the roots a lot, and then both neighbors are concerned with limbs falling over time and it just being so close to the buildings, so. We can definitely show you the proposed design, but it'll definitely have to encroach into the, protected zone, and so the question was kind of like, how far can we encroach, or can we just remove it, so we can know what parameters we have to, moving forward, but I don't think we can design anything that's outside of the 12-foot radius, so we'd have to seek some kind of encouragement variance.
It appears, again, Eliana, visit the site, I didn't have time, but the deck is on like 4x4 posts, I assume.
Yeah, I don't
Doesn't
know.
seem to have affected the tree, of course, you're getting air and water under it.
And do the spot footing beam over back towards the house. There might be a way to make it, have an arborist on site to be inspecting the digging around that area to make sure nothing's compromised. Possible, I think. So I think that, my recommendation would be the deferral, because I right now would say I follow the city's denial. And deferral gives you the opportunity to come back and explain a little more the reasons why, show that tree protection zone, show the amount of encroachment that would be required.
Have Cameron weigh in with the footprint, knowing like what that looks like, or help Just talk that through a little bit.
Yeah, we have all that. We should share that with Cameron. I guess I guess we should include his design in the application for the tree removal. But yeah, we can.
You mentioned you met with Cameron and talked with him about the designs and how it would be constructed. Could we flip back to Cameron's letter? Like what was his consensus? He said he thought
Talks more about just the pruning cuts and the weight being kind of, doesn't really talk about any addition.
Did he give a grade?
Is it good? And then second paragraph, first line,
that like
says the current health of tree is good.
I mean,
So you think that's a needs to be seen.
25-inch water oak is big, but they definitely get bigger.
yeah.
Okay, so resubmit with the proposed.
Well, they're gonna make a decision.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
It would be helpful for me if Cameron's, I used to work with Cameron a long time ago. If his letter was more detailed and responded to how construction would impact the tree. And if you could say, we're gonna have Bartlett come out, they're gonna use an air spade to excavate any major roots, we can work footers around that. I think that would help your case a lot.
Okay. Create a tree protection strategy
Yeah.
first. Yeah. Okay,
Does anybody have a motion?
I'll make a motion for deferral.
Motion by Jeff, Burrow, seconded by Calvin. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Approved. 5-0. Thank you.
thank you.
All right, so our next item is gonna be item B2. And it's 2296 Clements Ferry Road. It's Canehoy Council District 1, TMS number 26700000130. It is zoned LI. Request a variance from section 54-327 to allow the removal of 2 grand trees. And request a special exception from section 54-327 to allow the removal of 2 grand trees. Eric.
This is the application for 2296 located on Clements Ferry Road on the Canehoy Peninsula. This is one of many lots in a row that front Canehoy and basically served by a couple of ingress egress locations, and the rear abuts what the city calls Boeing Lake. A lot of dirt came out of that for Boeing. And the proposal is to basically fill in the missing tooth of this row of industrial flex space type structures in the LI zoning. What's most important here is that we adhere to the 50-foot buffer along Clement Ferry Road. Not that trees are all important, but as you can see, this was envisioned to be large warehouse style buildings and what have you, with shared access across the front as well as the rear. Earth Source is the consulting engineers for the project. You can see here a little different than other buildings. It's going to be L-shaped with one larger tenant space with a loading dock, and then they show 5, but that can move with interior walls depending on letters of intent for leases and what have you. But you can see the best tree is in the buffer, and then you have 2 laurel oaks and 2 water oaks and numerous others, but we can meet the 15 trees per acre requirement by simply maintaining the front buffer. This is a little rendering graphic. As you can see, the driveway does connect to the neighbor. In this case, it is not going to cross over because there's a facility there and then a daycare further down that don't really need to be connected. The parking's out front. It goes through DRB. You can see we have a 24.3 water oak, a 24.8, the laurel oaks 24.8 and 27.3. So relatively just over the grand tree classification, and then a lot of protected trees. The plan is to maintain the buffer, parking, visitor and employee out front, and then the large turnaround truck basin, if you will. 5-foot landscape strip with the neighbor. There is a grade differential there in which 2 of the trees sit up higher than the existing neighboring property. Tree 2, you can see multi-stem. Tree 3, multi-stem. Tree 8, multi-stem. And tree 9, multi-stem. It did receive, we allowed it to go to DRB just this past Monday, and they approved the conceptual design layout. Staff recommendations, as you can see, variance for the 2 grand trees, special exception for the 2 grand trees, laurel oak requiring the variance, water oaks requiring the special exception, approval with conditions. Must plant 62.25 caliber inches of native canopy trees on the site in the form of 25 2.5-inch trees. The residual inches in the form of a monetary contribution to the city street trees program. Must maintain all saplings 2 inches in diameter or greater in the front buffer, and then must provide a landscape plan for staff review and approval.
Thank you, Eric. First, we'll ask if there anybody here that's present that's against this application. No one's against. Is the applicant present?
Just for you, I've failed to mention, interesting enough, the 2 front trees, 2 and 3, are the water oaks, so they're closer to Clements Ferry, and then the 2 laurel oaks are very close in proximity on that common property line.
We have no public comments submitted. Online.
That's correct. No public comment.
Thank you. State your name and address.
Hello, my name is Noah Nelson. I am with Earth Source Engineering. I'm here with my client, Mr. JB DiCamilla. JB has been the owner of this site since 2000, since the start of the Charleston Regional Business Center. Like Eric said, the site is 2.25 acres. We're proposing a 28,000 square foot building to go on this site. Me and Eric and Jacob, my coworker, went on site and graded these trees together. And tonight I'm here to ask for your consideration for the 4 trees that we're proposing to remove. Just to run through the hardships for the variance test. Number 1, there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to this particular piece of property. This site, as you guys know, is part of the Charleston Regional Business Center with the zoning for light industrial. It's the only wooded lot left in the master plan, and the trees are unfortunately located in the area for interconnectivity as well as the building area. Number 2, these conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. As you guys can see, all the other sites have been cleared, and this was not cleared when it was not previously developed and was left uncleared. And it's really just one of the final pieces of this part for this regional business center to be developed. Because of these conditions, the application of the ordinance to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of this property. Though it doesn't, effectively prohibit, it does reasonably restrict this, unreasonably restrict this property due to the size of the building that we're trying to match with the other buildings around it. Without being able to remove these trees, we wouldn't be able to connect to the rear end, as well as, maintain the building size that we're looking for this light industrial track. The authorization of the variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. The authorization of the variance will not be of substantial detriment to neighboring parcels or the general public. It, you know, if anything, will be a public good because it will connect the properties around it as well as add a connection to the rear. And it's, you know, it's really just the final piece of the puzzle for this regional business center.
Is there, you done?
Yes.
Is there anybody else present that wants to speak in favor of the application? If not, then we'll close the public portion of the board for discussion. Questions?
Tree number 5 looks like it's in the median. Besides the rhythm of, I mean, is there a reason just from a grading?
So it is at a different elevation, but it is, you know, too close. If we were to pave right up there, we'd have to remove number 4. And it's so close to number 4 that we'd also have to 5.
I think that's I think the aerial is actually the best picture because all the other properties cleared because well, they all most likely looked exactly like the undeveloped one prior to their construction. And we're only looking at 4 trees on 2+ acres. And you can see the consistency of that landscape buffer going on Clements Ferry, both sides of the street, which I think satisfies that there's no detriment to the adjacent property of the public good. I'm in support. Questions for the applicant? Not as great. Questions for Eric? Not is there a motion?
So I failed to upload, but if you'd like to see that, the 2 Laurel Oaks, there's quite a bit of a grade. And I would assume that that little lane that they're proposing plan left of the would match the existing pavement next door almost.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion for approval with staff comments.
All right, motion for approval by George. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Charlton seconds that motion. All in favor?
Aye, favor.
Favor? Anybody opposed? Approved 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
That would be both special exception and the variance with staff conditions.
Thank you guys. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, Marywood Road is deferred.
Yes. We're gonna be going to item B4. B4 is Maybank Highway. Johns Island, Council District 3, the TMS numbers are 313-0000584 and 585. It is zone PUD. Request a special exception, section 54-327 to allow the removal of 1 grand tree. And request a variance from section 54-327 to allow the removal of 15 protected trees. Eric, sorry.
This is the application for the Maybank Highway application. Crown Partners being the owner, Seaman Whiteside, the applicant. That's why Deandra had to leave. This is the letter explaining their reason for special exception and variance. So this is one of 2 parcels that's currently beginning the process for permit. This is the one that sits in front of 2 existing apartment buildings. You'll see that better with the aerial. This is 1.34 acres in size and requires approximately 21 protected trees to be preserved. And you'll see the forest cover on it. This is a plan unit development that went through a lot of rigorous planning efforts when it got rezoned, and it's at one of our central gathering place nodes along Maybank Highway. It's just due east of Hollydale Court, and that's like the center node in the Johns Island plan for country, town and country sections. So you have River and Maybank as town, this node at Hollydale as town. In between you have country, and then of course the node at Main Road, Ohicket, and Maybank as a town section. So envisioned to be a little more dense in development, obviously as well with inside the urban growth boundary. Here's the existing aerial. You can see the apartments were first out of the gate, and they developed the street public right-of-way structure. So you have two perpendicular streets to Maybank, then Riva Ridge is a public street. And then Devlin Road is actually public, and then it hangs, makes a right turn down there and could eventually connect with Trophy Lakes behind. All the others are private streets. So this proposal to build a couple additional apartment style buildings would be fronting on a public right away Riva Ridge, and that's envisioned to parallel Maybank to give the motorist choice to navigate Johns Island. Here are the two parcels split by that Crown Common or Crown Commons Way. This is the parcel that can meet the 15 trees per acre, and there are no grand trees on it, so they'll be okay there. This is the parcel, I'm sorry, this is the one where they can't meet the 15 trees per acre requirement. This is the parcel where it's already been cleared. There was a pond there at one time, and they'll keep the trees plan left and meet the 15 trees with no branch trees proposed for removal. You can see here, that's the parcel where there's no conflict with meeting the code requirements. The bottom section is where they have conflict with the code. Again, the grand tree is a special exception, a fact-finding function of the board. It's a triple water oak, grade C. And then they have a fabulous live oak, grade A. And then on the corner is a grand, and not grand, but it's a grand sweet gum tree. And we'll talk about that a bit here in just a moment. But here's the pretty picture that kind of shows how it's going to relate to the overall development. The arborist letter. I haven't met Ian yet, I don't think, but he does a pretty good description of the trees, and then photographs. The water oak is the one on the right, and you have that nice live oak on that anchoring corner. Emails. And just their cover letter. Crown partners submitted a letter of support. Read through that if you wish. You have a copy on your desk. So staff went out, and you can see that the third leader of the triple did break out, but it does have a lot of water sprouts or epicormic sprouts, whatever you like to use, that keeps that stem viable, but it is, as you can see, broken out about midway, and then the two other, and kind of a weak connection at the base, almost some like curling roots that might have been damaged when this land was maybe managed differently than it is used today. It's got a little blemish in the stem there. So I actually would downgrade it to a D grade tree. This is the sweet gum tree. It's a triple, but it's, as you can see in the Google Earth, doesn't seem to have any dieback. It sits up. That's on that corner. And then of course you have the live oak on the other corner. And I put this in here. I'm going to recommend a 1.25 tree protection zone, no encroachments on this tree. But so just a bit about the plan. There's open space requirements in the PUD, and if I go back to the aerial, Devlin comes up in a tease, and opposing that, staff is envisioning an urban plaza, if you will, between the two apartment buildings, a gathering space for residents and little conversation piece area, whatever it may be. So they're showing the starts of that, and of course the water rope would be in the middle of that. So as that develops, we'll see how exactly it develops, but DRB has purview. I've talked with David Meeks a bit. So with all that said, staff is prepared. DRB, just again, this past Monday, it was deferred, and not so much on the site plan, but for architectural direction. So they've got some work to do on their buildings, and then of course, solidify the site to develop. But so staff recommends approval again for the removal of the tree requiring a special exception, and then to allow, so again, 21 trees would be required. As you can see, there are plenty more than 21, but they can really only maintain, they're only showing really maintaining the live oak. But staff recommends approval of the condition to plant 103 caliber inches. So that's 15, or I'm sorry, 21 trees required, 20 trees at 5 inches per tree, plus the 13 inches for the tree. The water oak must use 4-foot chain link fences, tree protection barricades, must provide a tree preservation plan for the grand trees to be preserved on the project site, must preserve the large sweet gum tree on the corner. And again, this could be just accomplished by notching the building, reconfiguring the building on that eastern end a bit. Must provide a 1.25 tree protection zone, no encroachments for the grand live oak anchoring the parcel corner. Must maintain 15 trees per acre on parcel 584. That's the one opposite this one. Must provide an urban plaza between the buildings and incorporate a few canopy trees, and must provide a landscape plan for both DRB and TRC review and approval.
Right. Thank you, Eric. We did receive public
Yes,
comment on this.
We did
one.
on this
There were 7
yes.
items, 7 responses. They were all opposed. And have different reasons for the position. I won't read all those in. If you want me to read the Crown Point letter in,
You may,
they're in support. So it's Crown Point Partners, letter of support, BZA-SD variance special exception, Live Oak Square, track 7. Dear Mr. Schultz, please accept this letter as my formal recommendation for BZA-SD request regarding special exception for the removal of a water oak grade C. Eric believes it's a grade D, and the variance of 15 trees per acre requirement for track 7 of Live Oak Square. As the owner of the adjacent multifamily and commercial development Crown at Maybank Highway and Live Oak Square, we are requesting an exemption to the tree requirement for track 7 in order to meet the PUD standard for interconnectivity within the existing network of public streets and in order to provide adequate public facilities, open space, recreational amenities for residents. I have reviewed the current site plan, would respectively advocate support for option 1, plaza area, over a traditional tree safe area. Maybe speak to that. While I understand the importance of tree preservation and canopy coverage, we believe that PUD connectivity should bear stronger weight in this instance, as the variance allows for a high-use community amenity rather than preserving a localized cluster of trees, largely pines and a single grade C water oak that would eliminate the courtyard and fragment the development. During the sketch plan process, we were advised by the TRC to prioritize additional open space, which took the form of the plaza area. The plan already successfully retains 12 protected trees and a 24-inch grand tree. Option 2 would result in a less walkable, less cohesive neighborhood. As the most affected neighbor, I believe the plaza provides significantly more value to the community than the trees in question. I urge the board to grant the request a special exception and variance. Options 1, options 2, did I miss?
I'm not
That
sure.
was-
I'm not sure.
Because I think that, all right, so with that said, the applicant is there anybody here that's against the application? No, applicant present.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. I think if you're gonna read in a letter in support, I think you should read in those in opposition.
Okay.
All right, let's get on with it. Maybank Highway, there were 7 comments submitted. First one was Shirley Stowe, 2910 Sea Leaf Lane, Johns Island. I am opposed to the removal of the grand trees mentioned in this request. Second comment was Olivia Atlantic at 3024 Riva Ridge Drive. Removal of these trees for yet more apartments is abysmal. The overdevelopment of Johns Island needs to stop. We should be focusing on preserving such a beautiful island. Crown can't even fill the apartments they have, so there's no reason they need to remove protected trees to build more. It's about nothing more than simple greed. Richard Giroux at 1935 Mitnick Lane. I oppose the removal of the Grand Oak. It's supposed to be Live Oak Square. It would seem that the builder could come up with a design that would preserve the Grand Oak. If you look at the current Crown apartment development, they have designed buildings that do preserve grand trees. Should do this with their new project. Also keeping as many of the protected trees as possible should be a BZA goal. Liz Munn, 3631 Morse Avenue, Johns Island. Removal of 15 grand trees. Protected trees, right?
Yeah.
But she's got grants, so 15 grand trees for an apartment complex should not be happening. An exception for 1 grand tree, which I assume is in a construction zone, and that would total 16 grand trees removed for an apartment building. These trees are a source for Johns Island. They protect us from environmental changes, flooding, and preserve our way of life. Many people move to our area for natural beauty that is being proposed to be destroyed. To replace this natural resource would take over 100 years. Removing trees on the scale for construction projects is irresponsible. Grand trees can be moved, plans can be changed, and we can coexist. I strongly request this variance to be denied and these trees remain. Yvonne Riley, 1670 Pleasant Hill Drive. Please don't destroy it. Placing these trees with something else is not the same. Grand trees take 100 years to mature. Do not do an irresponsible thing and remove these trees. Change your plans to coexist with these grand trees who have stood on this property for over 100 years. Trees assist with flooding issues. Then Arabella Kerrigan, 2728 Harmony Lake Drive. I'm 16 years old. I grew up here in the heart of Johns Island. It breaks my heart to see the landscape being destroyed. Charleston protects its historic downtown because we understand that preservation matters. Our grand oak trees deserve the same respect. Many of these live oaks have stood for centuries, longer than the buildings around them. They are living monuments to South Carolina's history, witness to generations of change, hurricanes, and growth. Once they are cut down, they cannot be replaced in our lifetime. Planting a sapling does not replace a 200-year-old canopy. If we truly value Southern charm and historical integrity, we must protect the trees that define it. These oaks are not just beautiful backdrops for photographs. They are critical infrastructure. Their vast root systems stabilize soil and reduce erosion, Their canopies lower temperatures in a city that grows hotter every year. They absorb stormwater in a coastal community that faces flooding and stronger storms. Removing mature trees in the name of convenience or short-term development is not progress. It is short-sighted policy that weakens our environmental resilience. Charleston's identity is tied to sweeping arches of live oaks dropped in Spanish moss. Visitors travel here for that character and that sense of place. Our tree canopy is part of our tourism economy and part of what makes neighborhoods feel like home. Development and preservation can coexist, but only if preservation is treated as a priority and not an afterthought. Once these trees are gone, the character that draws people to Charleston disappears with them. If we have laws that protect historic buildings downtown, we must extend that same seriousness to historic trees. Grand oaks are older than most structures in the city. They are not landscaping, they are living history. Development should work around them, not erase them. These trees have survived centuries of storms and change. They anchor our communities and connect us to the past. Charleston can grow without losing its roots. Protecting our historic oaks is not anti-growth. It is pro-legacy. It is pro-environment. It is pro-Charleston. And then we have Janet Boggs, 2958 Sweetleaf Lane in Johns Island. Please deny the request to remove 16 oak trees. And I think that was it.
That is correct.
Chair, I'll say I like that last one, like to the point. So, applicant is present, would you like to be heard?
Hello, I'm Colleen Williams with Seaman Whiteside, and we are representing Carl Partners as our client. We request these two variances and pay them intentionally. This parcel was always intended to be developed as multifamily as a part of the overall master plan of the development. It will have shared parking with the adjacent uses and create a connected and walkable urban condition. As Eric mentioned, there are two multifamily buildings planned for this parcel to create a bridge between existing multifamily to the north and an existing mixed-use development below it. These two buildings will front onto River Ridge Road to mirror a similar urban condition across the street with multifamily buildings, street trees, and on-street parking. And this plan seeks to create a complete and cohesive urban block. In order to provide a functional amenity space, pedestrian connection between phases, and a strong terminus to Devlin Road, a plaza has been planned between these two buildings. Removing the water oak and the remaining trees between the buildings is necessary in order to create the plaza. If one or neither variance is approved, the plaza cannot be built. Additionally, the plaza was recommended by TRC staff in the preliminary review of the site plan at sketch plan Wednesday, and meets the guidelines of the PUD in the Gathering Place zoning district. Removal of the grand tree and additional protected trees will not negatively impact the design of the site or any adjacent parcels within the overall development. For some additional context, as Eric mentioned, this tract is developed in conjunction with another tract across Town Commons Way. It's roughly the same size and shape. That parcel will have one multifamily building and will retain 33 protected trees and 6 grand trees. So while the parcel in question will not, the combined development of these two parcels could exceed an overall requirement. Of the 175 trees that are being removed, only 5 of them are desirable hardwood trees. The predominant tree species that exist on this parcel are pines with some gums. And then, as Eric showed, there's one grand tree on site that's a 49-inch live oak. That's graded A, that will stay. Last point, for the PUD, the entire development is required to provide at a minimum about 7 acres of open space and 25% of that usable open space. So including this current design, the overall development is far exceeding that requirement, with a little under 10 acres of open space and about 4.5 acres of usable open space. So removing these trees will not negatively impact the overall development's open space and canopy coverage. So with that, I'll turn back over to the board.
All right, thank you. Anybody else present that wants to speak in favor? Close the application to the public to be open to the board for discussion. So I'll ask the question. Eric's recommendation, I think, is for that large gum to remain and that building to be redesigned. Is that an issue?
I don't know the answer to that. That's something we can consider and
It's that large one in the upper right with the little X.
yes, that's the gum on the corner.
Alright, so you
I
can't,
think that would, I know that it would at a minimum require the removal of a unit there in that corner of the building. It might, or the building just might need to be reconfigured for that. It's something we would need to study before it either way.
be good. It's like the old, is there a site plan that shows the protected trees being removed that I missed?
Survey, trees.
That one, okay. And so in that cluster of everything.
Yeah.
Apart from the two that are gonna be required to be saved, the one that the live oak you're gonna save, and then the one that Eric suggested you save.
Mhm.
There's the multi-stem water oak that is gonna come out. There were only 5 other hardwoods.
Yeah, there's like a couple maples, one red oak, some water oaks, maybe. Yeah. A lot of pines and gums.
Seems like it. I buy into the argument that 2 parcels together being built at the same time are gonna meet that 15 protected trees per acre. There's certainly no reason to save that water oak and not be able to put in that courtyard element that it seems is something everybody, the DRB Design Review Board is wanting to see. Part of the requirement for development at open space, 4.5 acres of open space. I think Eric's conditions were fair. And well, yes, there will be building there. The other trees, I mean, having to plant 103 caliber inches of trees back on site. Yeah. Makes sense to me.
Eric, one of the, maybe more than one of them, the letters mentioned 9 grand trees. Was there a reduction done or was that just something?
I think it's just a
Misread or
little
something?
misinformation.
The one counting protected trees.
They're correct. Even down to the fact that I think a lot of individuals thought that the special exception tree, the water oak, was a live oak. They speak to live oak a whole lot.
Questions of the applicant? Was there a proposed landscape plan that put in there? Was that next sheet maybe?
It's a beginning
It's
of
just
a,
a beginning. I mean, so again, if you go just from looking at that, you got the grand trees remaining on that left lot. It's not gonna just be barren green grass. There's gonna be landscape beds, trees, where those other 2 buildings are going.
Is that graphic or all the graphics showing a 100% TPZ on the live oak?
Yes.
Cause 125 will mess up your parking lot entry a little bit.
they can, it's a private drive, they can narrow down to, we're comfortable with 20-foot, 2 10-foot passable lanes versus 24-foot drive out.
Mhm.
But they will have to study that.
That comment say 1.25 TPZ of the developed area, because part of that is going to be in the existing drive aisle parking lot. Right?
Yeah, I think it's understood that we're not going to move
What's there?
that existing drive, but
Yeah, I think so. No, yeah, no additional encroachments like this.
Any other questions? Your motion.
I'll make a motion for approval of staff recommendations.
Motion by Jeff, for approval of staff conditions. Is there a second on that?
We're voting on both.
Do you want to separate it out?
It's up to you, Mr. Chairman.
I would say that. I think we could do them both together and there's hesitation. And we should separate out. Maybe we should separate out just. Let's separate out, Jeff, if we can make, maybe your first motion is for the 1 grand tree. We'll get a second on that. Vote on it, then we'll do-
What? With only the applicable conditions,
Correct.
And the 1
which
grand
would
tree,
not be the,
can you show the,
That's that water oak. That's where the new courtyard is connected.
Yeah.
okay,
the kind of central.
yeah,
Red one right there. And then I think one of his conditions is that there's shade canopy trees planted in that courtyard.
And whatever, I'm not gonna do the math, but whatever interest associated with that tree.
Correct.
Okay.
Motion,
I'll make a motion for approval of the special exception removal of the grand tree. With staff recommendations, those applicable to said tree.
is there a second on that?
Second.
Seconded by George. We'll go to vote. Favor,
I in favor.
favor, all those opposed? Opposed.
post.
That's a 3-1. Calvin was opposed. Now we'll look at the removal of the 15 protected trees. That's the variance. So the special exception was approved. Might be a motion for the variance. Questions for that?
Just, I think we went over it, but these are separate parcels, platted parcels.
That's
Here, so
correct.
you're going under on one.
That's
And
correct.
that's triggering it.
Yeah.
And we're going over on the
The
other.
one with the special exception, the bottom one is not showing that they meet the 15 trees per acre.
Got it. But in aggregate, if these were one parcel.
I didn't do the math, but I guess.
They do. According to applicant.
I'll make a motion for approval of the variance for the 15 trees or removal of the below the 15 tree per acre threshold with the applicable staff recommendations.
Excellent. For a second on that.
Second.
Seconded by George. Do this, well, so all those in favor? I in favor, those opposed? So that was approved 3-1 as well. Thank you. Okay. And if you can make, oh, she's coming in. All right, our next item will be item B5. Which is West Ashley Circle in West Ashley. Council District 5, TMS number 30100000819, zone PUD. Requested variance from section 54(3)27 to allow the removal of 5 grand trees. Request a special exception from section 54(3)27 to allow the removal of 5 grand trees. Requested variance from section 54(3)30 to allow a reduction in the impervious construction setback near the bases of 3 grand trees. So, Eric.
Making a trip out to West Ashley. This is the application submitted for B's Wedge LLC on behalf of Kimberly Horn. Their letter explaining their variance test. So you see 2 property lines here. You see a little wedge plan north and east a little bit there. the lower line used to be the right of way for SCDOT. This is when there was maybe a vision to do a flyover. Glen McConnell would fly over Bees Ferry and there would be on ramps. That's not going to happen with the construction of the West Ashley Circle. So the applicant made a real estate deal with SCDOT and acquired that additional land. This was recently went through a rezoning effort. My gosh, I forgot my zoning map and my aerial, but here's the aerial. Interesting enough, you have a pretty significant transmission as well as gas easement that traverses across the property. You have a 50-foot landscape buffer on Bees Ferry, and then through the rezoning process, because of the large tree area where DOT wants to maintain their right of way, they did a reduction in the Glen McConnell buffer, if you will. This is the grand tree summary, the 5 requiring a variance: white oak, poplar, magnolia, maple, white oak. The other 5 are special exception water oaks. No real high quality trees on site. The C's are the highest quality, and a couple of them are multi-stem. So you're in the Church Creek drainage basin. So it's a pretty difficult lot to meet stormwater requirements because it's at the most the quadrants in close proximity to the T intersection, where the T intersection with Glen McConnell and Bees Ferry, and then the arc, of course, and then the transmission line. And I should have included the vision for this, that, you know, years ago, the city went through a charrette. And again, this is supposed to be a walkable gathering place, lots of different mixed uses. And so what they're proposing is anything built on West Ashley Circle has to be very urban in nature. The buildings have to relate to that public realm, so they're being pulled forward very close. And then the other buildings can kind of fall back and maintain the buffer on Bees Ferry. They are working with Dominion Energy to allow those circles within the easement, are the radiuses around the structures, the poles that support the aerial lines. And that adds another little design constraint. But they are allowing a entry point to oppose the main entry to the Walmart. The entry to the left, in which there is a tree shown to be impacted, aligns across from Floyd Drive. And then the other entry point, plan right, opposes a private drive where the Murphy gas station is, that sits in front of Walmart. Tree number 1, special exception water oak. Tree 4, this is a variance. This is a white oak, multi-stem. Tree 9, white oak, again forked, big seam of included bark. Tree 11 is just a impact disturbance. This is to be maintained. That's Bees Ferry Road in the background. I'll talk about that tree in a minute. Tree 16, water oak, decay, poor form. 18, again, water oak. Poplar. Again, it appears that one codominant leader was broken out in a storm and lateral branches became dominant. Water oak. Magnolia, unfortunately, double stem, not good, has a kind of a weird cavity in it on the picture on the right. Red maple, again, a category 1 tree, but it's very hard to find a really good red maple in nature. They all tend to be in the bottomlands and multi-stem. Water oak, it's got a fruiting body at the base. Broken top. White oak, there's a pit dug right here. You can see how the tree acclimated to the sidewall of the pit. I suspect this land was,
Phosphate.
phosphate. There's a lot of investigative work searching for phosphate that many years ago, and then a red oak. No relevant case study other than the whole rezoning effort. So back to the site plan. And so you see 2 buildings that are fronting the Bees Ferry buffer. You see a grade B in the buffer, and then a grade, that's a yellow tree, grade C. I believe that's the white oak. There will be condition to relieve that tree of being having a building on top of it, as well as a little plaza space between the buildings. The tree in the entryway, we stood there and spoke a lot about this tree. I'm going to support the effort. The landscape architect really thought we could achieve it. The root flare is going to be challenging, but with a certified arborist, hopefully we can get that tree to survive in the island. And then the others are in building footprint pond. So with that said, the quality of the trees, staff recommends approval with the condition to plant 192.25 caliber inches of native canopy trees on the project site. This is going to take some time. There was an agreement to handle the entire site. There may be slight massages to the site plan, but there is interior property lines to come later with different buyers and developers, but pretty much this is master planned as shown. So those trees can be across the entire site as it develops. 4-foot chain link fence must provide tree protection barricade plan and a specific plan for the tree to be preserved in the entry island. Must notch or shift the building not to encroach into the PZZ for the grand tree at the buffer, and must provide a reforestation plan to be reviewed by both DRB and TRC.
All right, thank you. So I'm gonna ask the question, is there anybody present that's opposed to the application? After the present.
Excuse me, that's Macman, Encore real estate.
All right, do you have anything you need to add to Eric's presentation or want to?
I think Eric did a really great job of covering most of the high points there. Want to reiterate, we've worked with city staff for the last 2 years to get this PUD and zoning squared away. It's been a very iterative process and to get this site plan to where it is today, and we're willing to continue working with the staff for save trees. The iterative process has resulted in a much reduced ask, and really we're left with impacts to trees that are in the building footprint or in the pond area, which pond is pretty large, as you can see, which is driven by the Church Creek Basin drainage requirements.
Thank you, Amy. Anybody else want to speak in favor, and then we'll close the application. Public can go forward for questions, discussion. Like a picture is worth 1,000 words. And this one, I mean, all the trees are C and D to be removed, and looking at the picture to see that was generous. But that's my 2 cents.
Is this the one where Eric, you're saying the building should notch?
That's correct.
Is that the right oak?
That is a white oak. That one would be disturbance. This one here with the road in the background, I believe is this one. Yeah, tree number 4.
Where's the grade B red oak? That has an encroachment on that plan.
That was the last picture, I believe.
Yeah, I thought it was nice. I just was curious where it was and what the encroachment was.
Is that leader being allowed off too, or is that just you?
See, that's tree number 44.
The one
Big pond one?
here by the pond or the one right next to the one we're not the building for.
Oh, they added it's the large live oak next to Glen McConnell. You see the bow in the pond.
Mhm.
They're Andrew Todd Burke with Kimberly Horn added it just because of the maintenance shelf that may be necessary for that pond. Right now, we don't see any cut or fill in it, but if you see it, it has a little bit of red tint to it. That's the impact that he wanted to add. So it's that large one over by Glen McConnell, grade B.
We are doing our best to shape the pond around the tree to preserve it.
What's being done with how's the tree in the island being protected?
So we only, let me get to that one. That is. Oh, I must have skipped it already. Disturbance. This is the single trunk. I believe this is there was a really significant root flare. I think this is it. Let me just double check the other. Yeah, this is the one, I think. I'm getting confused. This one may be the one in the island, the entrance island, and I questioned it with it being the multi-stem. And then the other one's over by the building. But Andrew Todd Burke, being a landscape architect, wanted to try. Yeah, I think this one has, see the light pole in the background with the acorn top. So that's West Ashley Circle. So this is the one that would be in the island. So back to my condition, we have to have a very specific plan for that specific tree in that island, air spading, arborist.
Do we think it's gonna be in a tree well?
We'll probably have to, I don't know, it sits up. They're gonna have to actually do a little cut to meet existing West Ashley Circle. We talked about that at length. It sits up about probably 1.5 to 2 feet above sidewalk. So there's going to be, it will be up, and then they're going to have to start to slope down to meet the road. And we talked about making that island look more like an eye. So it would be wider right at the tree, and then the nose on either end of it. Right now it's kind of parallel. It's just, so it might have to bow out a little bit. That was just discussions in the field. So through TRC and then with arborists involved, will hopefully be successful.
Is there a condition of, it's not sizes that are going in, normally you put like.
The trees?
1 inch.
Well, that's a minimum mitigation size tree just in general. But if you want to condition that of the 192, some are larger. It's up to you all. They might just upsize parking lot trees anyway to get to that number. So they may do 3, 3.5, 4-inch trees and some parking lot islands.
You want to separate this out or he brings me.
I mean, I guess we could, just like we done last, separate out the three. Seems like the, grand trees, or does Eric have the condition of notch? Wait, that's,
Yeah.
it's not shift. I don't know, I'm not,
I think we'll put it together. I'll make a motion for approval with self conditions.
all right, so there's a motion for approval, is there a second?
Second.
Second, that one. And, go to the vote, all in favor? Favor, any opposed? Approved. Thank you. Back here. And that ends the meeting.
Yes, it does.
Thank you for this. Let's find out.
On driveway.